I'm about to tell you 5 key tips that you need to know before diving deep into Illuvium Zero, okay? The game is coming out on January the 6th, but you need to know all of these things before getting into it because you're going to miss some things and then you're going to waste time and not be able to get all the blueprints you possibly want to get. So definitely stay through to the end. There's a lot of really helpful information here and you want to make sure to catch on to it. So the first one, without further ado, is the release schedule. There's one really big key takeaway here, and that's in about 6 weeks after the game comes out, everything is going to be wiped and everyone is going to start all over again, okay? You will not be able to collect or keep any blueprints during this time, and on the 21st of Feb or sometime around then, everything is going to be wiped and you will have to start all over again. So what I'm saying right now is don't worry about these first 6 weeks. Use that to learn the game, watch lots of Scoriox videos, and get a handle for how the game plays so that when it's crunch time in late February, then you will be ready to put your time to work and make sure that you're playing the game the best you possibly can until it is wiped for the open beta. But up until then, you will be able to mint those blueprints and you will be able to take something away from your gameplay. So definitely don't forget that this first 6 weeks is just a play test and get ready for that, okay? The next thing we have to talk about is pathing. I'm going to use these as background information, but pathing, right? Using paths in Illuvium Zero, it will make the building upgrade faster. Now, this doesn't seem like a very big boon, but I don't think paths are very expensive. You can place them around all your buildings and get them to upgrade really quickly until you need to start moving on to this third tip, which is efficiencies. So if we move on to efficiencies here, you can see that if the building is close to other buildings that make sense for it to be efficient with, and I'll produce all the guides that you guys need on this topic exactly, but things like that big circular building there, the condenser plant, if that's near the hydrogen pumps, then it gets an efficiency bonus. But if it's near other condenser plants, then it gets an efficiency debuff. So you got to make sure you're very careful with these efficiencies and you're understanding which ones benefit from what. But I'm going to be making lots of content on that in the future. So don't forget to like and subscribe and I'll keep you informed. The next fourth tip we need to talk about is scanning and research. So when you're scanning on your land, it can take up to 24 hours, okay? That's what we're looking at here. It might be shorter, it might even be longer, but I'm pretty sure every single time you scan, it's going to take 24 hours and it's not going to be a 100% success rate. So essentially, especially after that February mark when the game's more properly in alpha, you're going to be wanting to scan at least once a day or just as often as you possibly can. That is going to be really, really important to maximizing your land, maximizing your time, and getting the most out of it. So don't forget to be scanning on your land as often as you possibly can. Now, the last tip, so after you scan on your land, this is still the fourth tip, you go to the materials lab, and what you can then do is you can then grab that biodata and search for different armor or equipment. Now, this obviously also has a low chance to succeed, so you're going to make sure you're doing this as often as possible. Johnny here describes that it could be as low as 5% success rate. So again, as often as you possibly can, making sure that thing is engaged. If there's nothing else you do, you don't need to keep buildings upgrading all the time or anything. The big focus should be keeping the blueprints, material labs and all that upgraded, and then making sure that they're running 24/7 as often as you can. Set alarms on your phone, do whatever you have to, okay? The last thing I'm going to talk about is this thing right here, and that is the holographic statue. This is the fifth tip, okay? So this will give you a slight boost to finding an alluvial that matches the affinity and maybe class on the bio or the biodata that you're putting into that. So if you found a Turu like Johnny did here, you can then go and put that Turu in the holographic statue, and now you'll find alluvials that are also, I don't know what type Turu is, also fire and fighter, probably that's what it is, that are also fire and fighter, and they will appear more frequently. So you can be really strategic and try and search for those blueprints you think might be high value or you just like the best. And obviously I'll be making content trying to support you and give you ideas on kind of what path you might want to be taking, especially when it comes to that holographic statue. That's really important. Make sure not to forget that. Have a good day, everyone. I hope this makes sense.